it taught me some professional skills,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, realistically, I was crying out to be a creative, and I just don't even think I knew what a creative was when I was younger.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of kids don't know that, and that's what I like to show them. You know, you know, obviously I meet kids, obviously young people, students in the college, but we also do a hell of a lot of community work, and you know, I'm around a lot of different young people and ask me things about music and stuff and education or whatever it is, and I'm just a big believer in following, you know what I mean, Giorgio,
Yeah.
like whatever it is in life that you love, you know, it's not the easy route. It can be really hard, and it can be, you know, but I'm a champion of that.
Yeah.
Now that's where I come from my
Definitely.
own personal. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, I'm exactly the same as you. I always love championing that talent. If there's something in life that you want to do, you can't stop thinking about it, and just go for it
Yeah,
and work hard.
yeah,
Like you said, it's not going to be easy at all. You've got to work your ass off to
no,
get there, but it's
yeah,
always worth it. And that's what I want to get into actually in your journey. Actually, so when was the
yeah.
actual sort of idea and spark that came to you that you think I'm going to start my own music school now or college? When was that kind of moment that happened for you?
So talking about that journey of being an electrician and being pushed into, you know, like I said, like doing what I thought was the right thing by getting a professional trade and, you know, and those kind of things. I just ultimately what happened is I came to a point with it where I got trained. You know, I got a load of big jobs. I was working for myself, like got a load of big jobs in King's Cross and just like in the Barbican, just like loads of like really good work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was earning, you know, really good money and everything, you know. But I absolutely hated it. I had no interest in it at all whatsoever. And it was just funny because I just really hated it, and I was actually funny and even more fun. I was just really bad at it. Like I'm just bad at DIY. So the
I'm the
funny thing
worst.
was, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I, you
yeah.
know, I went to college to become an electrician because I was thinking, right, I'm going to earn good money, and
Yeah.
I'm, you know, and you know, I'm going to get trained, and I'm going to earn good money. That's all it was. It was just for money. That was like my mindset, which
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
wrong. Like, you know, yeah, I just want to earn good money. Like, just, you know. And then I got qualified and everything, went out onto the real job and realised, oh my God, I'm absolutely shit at DIY. And actually, electricians is like, you've got to be good at DIY. It's half the job. Half the job is
Yeah.
running the wiring and being safe and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
The other stuff is you've got to be good with your hands. And I am terrible. And we can have another podcast about my life as an electrician. The
Yeah. I loved
stories, like,
it.
yeah, it was funny. No, so, but yeah, so ultimately, I got to the end of my tether with this work thing, and I just felt like I remember I was working in the city, and you know, and I was up at 6 a.m. in the shower, like, and every minute of work would feel like an hour, and it would and I just wasn't happy, Georgia. I was
Mm.
just like walking dead. And I remember I was in the shower in the morning, like 6 a.m., thinking to myself, and it's like, is this what life is really about? Like doing this every day this is what people do. Like I can't, I just can't do this. And you know, and it just like, and let's say at the time I was earning amazing money but I didn't even laugh. I didn't even know what happiness was. I was just on this like, so anyway, I basically came to the end of my tether and literally was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like mentally, you know, I just couldn't work it out. And I was just like, and the blessed thing was that because I'd worked so hard as an electrician and earned a load of dosh, I had got the money to buy a house. And in those times, I think it was like 2000 and I can't remember now, but it's about 14 years ago or something. At those
Mhm.
times, it was just before the recession. I don't know when it was, like think it was about 2008, I think, just when that recession came in. And just before the recession, they used to do something called what's it called? Something mortgage, mortgage. I've forgotten the name of it now, but basically they don't do it anymore. But basically, what it meant was, as long as you had 10% of the value of the house, right? Which back then it was a lot cheaper than it is now. It's probably like doubled in price now. So if you had 10% of the value, and we're like houses in back then were like, where around my area, like a 2-bedroom nice house now is probably about 450, 500. You know what I mean? Back then it was like 200, 250, you know? So it was definitely, you know, 10% at that time, working as an electrician and whatever, like it was really easily doable. Okay. And those type of mortgages, I might remember the name in a minute, but literally what you had to do is go in, as long as you had the 10%, right? You go in and they say to you, okay, your name, blah, 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 blah. How much do you earn a year? And I said something stupid like £120,000, which is obviously not true.
Yeah.
And they say, tick, next question. Yeah. So obviously now, you know, mortgages, they want to see your bank statement, you know, everything. Yeah. You can't, you know. So that's what happened. And I would say I was lucky enough to have a house while this happened, when I kind of came to my meltdown where I just couldn't work out life anymore. And I thought to myself, well, do you know what? I don't know what the hell I'm going to do, right? But I can't do this anymore. It's just going to kill me, you know? I've got a house with 2 spare rooms, okay? I'm just going to rent them out.
Nice.
So at least I can just for 6 months just try and think. And that in itself is so blessed, because normally, you know, you would have to get another job and then you don't have time to think, etc., because you've got to pay the mortgage or the rent or whatever. But luckily enough, I'd put myself in a position where I had a house now and I had 2 rooms. So at least that would pay the rent and everything. Do you know what I mean? And then I could have some time to think. Yeah. So I did that. And I just said, right. And I rented my rooms and I said, no more electricians. It's just like, just, you know, you can imagine all the disaster and stuff, but it was always fine. But it was, for me, it felt like a disaster, you know, and anyway, so I had this house and I just literally took 6 months to say and look around, you know, and say, what is it I want to do? What is it? What, you know, and I was thinking, oh, DJing again, you know, you could go down that route. No, something a little bit more secure, and I'm not a night person anyway, so actually, like, and you know, and then I said, after, you know, months, like 4 or 5 months, something, and I started thinking, oh, well, I love DJing, you know, oh, maybe I should say, you know, that kind of thing, and it just sparked something. I was thinking different things, and I started googling, you know, young people DJing like locally and all this sort of stuff, and then I found this bus I live in Barnet, so I found this bus in Barnet, and it was called Rolling Bass, and it was basically a single decker bus that would go out to all the estates locally, and on the bus it would have, like, you know, music production gear, and it would have like DJ decks and a mixer, and it'd have like football gear and stuff. And basically it would go out to all the local estates in Barnet, like Graham Park, Stone Grove, West Hendon, like all these different places in the Barnet, you know, areas of deprivation, estates and things like that. And that's how I started, and I just volunteered, you know, for about 6 months, hardcore, like 30 hours a week, teaching DJing and teaching some bit of production on this bus. And I just absolutely loved working with kids and music, you know. I just you know, it was just like heaven for me after going from this kind of work. There was just, and I was volunteering, you know, but I thought, you know, this is just, and I just loved it. And then I was doing that for a long while. And then after about 8 months, so I finished working with them, and then I was still working with them, but I had this idea about sound school, and I was like, you know, I want to try and do some stuff. So I basically was going around, doing all like, I was going to see people like YMCA and just youth clubs in the borough and things, and finding out what was going on, and just like entering the sort of scene, if you like, the community scene for young people, like locally, like youth clubs and that whole council run programs, and just a whole bit about working with young people in the community, you know. And it was also the time where I'd walked into Mill Hill Music Complex. I don't know if you know it.
I know them, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No, down there, like, so I was down there, and Roger was actually really supportive of me initially. I come in and I had all these ideas. Oh, I've got this thing, sound cool, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. You know, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just had a huge passion for, like, teaching music to kids, you know, DJing and production and things. And, you know, and he was really cool, and he supported me. He lent me the money for a pair of decks. It was really cool of him now. And gave me a space to do my stuff if I wanted to do stuff. And funny enough, that's then when I met Connie. So, you know, Connie, who's the managing director. So I met her. I just walked into the studio, and she was in there with Roger, the owner, and they were doing some band stuff. And then I just started talking to Connie, you know. This is, you know, it's over 12 years ago now. And then just started to tell, this Soundskool thing, you know. She was like, yeah, that sounds really good. Like, you know, I wasn't know what I was doing, you know. You know, buying into not buying, you know, they just loved my energy, you know, like, and they were just, you know, they were obviously the same, you know, and they want, you know, and then, you know, me and Connie became friends, and I started, showing her what I'm doing. And then I was working with YMCA, and we went for a bid, and it come off. You know, and we got like 30 grand to do this bid. So we did programs down at Mill Hill Music Complex with YMCA and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then just expanded, and then, you know, we've done more projects and more. And so basically, yeah, we started in this as a community organisation, and we've done a hell of a lot of this stuff. And we used to do a lot of, you know, all this stuff on the stage, you know, rapping, and I used to go and jump on the decks, and Connie would jump on the mic, and then we'd have, you know, production teachers come down, and music teachers, guitar teachers, and drum teachers, and, you know, I would, you know, and so it was just that we were a community organisation, Giorgio, you know?
Yeah.
That's how we started, you know? And so we were going, you know, 3 or 4 years doing these small little workshops, and, you know, I wasn't really earning any money, Giorgio. You know, it was very sporadic. You know, we might have a few workshops on a Saturday, and then might have one program running where we're working, you know, a couple of hours an evening over a few nights. So it was very low on the money, but you know, my wages were starting to come in, but, you know, it was very difficult.
No,
You know what
imagine.
I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like a full-time wage or whatever, you know, but I just loved it, you know. So I just carried on, and we just done some amazing work. Done a lot of work with special needs young people with an organisation called Community Focus, who've been in Barnet for a long time. They're very focused on, you know, 0 to 100-year-olds and people with special needs. We've done a hell of a lot of work with them, some amazing music work, and done a lot, all community stuff. And then ultimately, Giorgio, you know, after about 3 or 4 years, suddenly the bare community work that was there, the funding just went. It was just, you know, when it was like really getting bad, you know, and it was just, you know, youth clubs shutting down everywhere, no more funding, no more this, no more that. And, you know, I come to a point, and it was just really, it just, you know, for all the love in the world, no one would fund us because if the money was just gone. And then, you know, we were what we're going to do. And then I got introduced to somebody who was doing some work over in Walthamstow that were a college, you know, and ended up linking up with them, and they were a bit more established. They had a little college going and stuff like that. And at the time, the funny thing is, so they were working in education. So imagine, Giorgio, we're in this community vibe, you know, that was Soundskool, you know, on the estates, you know, in charities and schools, you know, working with, you know, young people on their own terms with their own music that they wanted to work on and those kind of things. So it's very community. And suddenly I'm teamed up with these people who were a college ultimately, you know, and that were educators, you know. And so that was a whole new world for us because we're used to the community world. And then, but the funny thing is this guy, you know, was very interested in Soundskool, you know, and the funny thing is he had a double-decker bus, which is random, right?
Yeah.
But remember now, going back to the beginning of the story, I had a single-decker bus that I kind of learnt my trade on, you know? So it was just random that, you know, 4 years later, this guy just goes, I've got a bus, you know?
Double-decker one.
Yeah. I'm like, sweet, well, you know, I know what, you know, let's go for it then. So that was the kind of precursor to the college, basically. It was like, okay, well, I've got this bus. We can't do anything at all with it. It's been here, you know, we don't, you know, it's not doing anything. Anyway, we got this job and the target was to get like 80 kids a day through this bus. And I was getting like 150, 200 kids a day. And I, you know, and it was everywhere around Barnet. You know, this school, that estate, that college, that green, you know, from Burnt Oak to West Hendon to, I don't know, all a whole borough. Like, even we started going into East London a bit, funnily enough, as well. So we basically just showed them what to do with this bus. Like, it was, so, you know, underneath we had like production going on at the bottom of the bus in these like special seats at the bottom. You go upstairs and like there was decks at the front and a microphone, and my other guy, Shane, at the back making T-shirts and hats. That, you know, kids come on, design it. It was all free for them. And it was amazing. So that showed this man that, you know, Soundskool, who run this college, you know, Soundschool's like, you know, can do what they say they can do. And then we started talking about discussions about Soundskool opening a college, you know, and whether they could fund us, you know what I mean, in Barnet, because they were from East London, you know. So I was like, look, you know, we're North London, there's no one over here doing it, sort of thing, Giorgio, you know, like, you know, so we're not going to be in any sort of competition or whatever, you know. So he says, okay then, you know, the thing is, obviously, you've never done this before. So how about you come in and work in our building for a year, you know, with your team. And then if you've got any problems or whatever, we'll be on hand and we can, you know, show you anything you need to know, from Ofsted to marking to, you know, the whole bit of education. And so at that time, the team was me, Connie, and Mighty Mo from Heartless Crew. I don't know if you know
Amazing.
Heartless
Yeah, of
Crew.
course I do. Heartless.
Yeah. So, and that was the mad thing as well. I had ended up on this journey before that. Yeah, you know, Mo just called me out of the blue one day. He'd found a flyer for Soundskool, and he called me one day. I was driving, and he called me up and he said, "Oh, hello, is that Soundskool? Yeah, who's that? Oh, it's Mighty Mo." And anyway, the whole story behind it, and me and Mo were neighbours, and we became really close friends. And he did a lot of work for Soundskool. And then so we went in there and we did that. We did the year. It went really well. And then they gave us the funding for Barnet. So we did 2 courses in Barnet for the first time. In East Barnet we were based. So we did 2 level 1 courses, 1 music production, 1 music performance, level 1. Then the next year we added another couple of courses, and we had 2 level 1s and 2 level 2s. That was in Barnet. Then we moved to Crouch End. And then the story goes on, and the college built up and up and up and up.